Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brett Andrews, and I am the interim CEO at All Home. And on behalf of All Home, we are thrilled to have you here with us today as we share some very important updates on our work. As many of you know, All Home is a nonprofit organization advancing regional solutions to homelessness and poverty around the Bay Area. We work across the region on policy and strategy around housing and economic security, and we advocate at the state and federal level. From the beginning, we knew that to be successful, we needed participation from all 9 counties. So we formed the Regional Impact Council, which is made up of a group of government, nonprofit, and business leaders from all 9 counties that have been convening for over 4 years now. And in fact, the new regional action plan that we're sharing with you today is a direct product of the Regional Impact Council. We're here today with reasons for optimism because we know that homelessness is solvable. We know that we need to get concrete about what that looks like, but it's going to require all of us to do things differently. Our report affirms there is no one magic solution to homelessness. We need to expand multiple solutions at the same time: targeted homelessness prevention, permanent housing, and interim housing. We need a deeper commitment, more political courage, and a broader public involvement in order to have notable and durable outcomes. It is intolerable to have people living in our streets in such deplorable conditions, to have children and elders to have no place to call home. It simply doesn't have to be this way. As we say in the report, homelessness is a policy choice. And in great part, many of these choices have created these conditions. We can do better, and we can make better choices to change the situation we see around us every day. Over the next few minutes, you will hear updates on the Regional Action Plan, key successes, lessons learned along the way, and a reframing of both our approach and the work ahead for all of us. What is abundantly clear is that we need investments in targeted prevention strategies, interim housing, and permanent housing. They need to be concurrent. They must happen at the same time. To paraphrase Dr. King, we need to feel the fierce urgency of now to address homelessness and poverty in the Bay Area. Again, I want to thank you for your time and your presence here today. Just a bit of housekeeping before we move on. There will be a Q&A section in the end of the presentation. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Our colleague, Edie Irons, will be tracking them. And now I'd like to introduce All Home's Chief Partnership Officer, Ken Kirky, to give us an overview of the updated Regional Action Plan. Ken, please.
Thank you, Brett. Good morning, everyone. The Regional Action Plan is critically important to help the Bay Area effectively address homelessness. Our modeling shows that we could significantly reduce unsheltered homelessness in as little as 5 years, with $9.5 billion spent on 3 solutions. The Regional Action Plan outlines what we need to build, what services are necessary across the region, how much it might all cost, and recommendations for accountability. The ultimate goal of this plan is functional zero homelessness, to make homelessness a rare, brief, and one-time experience. Functional zero does not mean homelessness disappears forever. It means cities and counties have effective response systems that can serve people in a timely way, whether they are at risk of losing their home or already unhoused. Today in the Bay Area, for most extremely low-income families facing a housing crisis and needing one-time help, assistance is not available. For people who are newly homeless, there is typically nowhere to go, no shelter or interim or permanent housing available. We can change this dynamic. We need to do more of 3 things, all at the same time, and there's detail about each of these in the plan. First, targeted homelessness prevention, to reduce the number of people in need, because we'll never get homelessness under control if we don't slow it down by ensuring that people do not become homeless in the first place. Second, interim housing, to give people safe, stable places to come indoors and heal from being unhoused while they get connected to a permanent home. This is critically important given the Bay Area has more than 20,000 people living outside right now. The sidewalk should not be the waiting room for a proper place to live. Third, and this is very important, increasing the supply of permanent housing, more affordable units with services for those that need them, and expanded rental assistance to make housing more affordable for people vulnerable to becoming unhoused. The last part of our plan is stronger planning and coordination to effectively respond to homelessness and ensure the solutions work as they should. That's not just something for local governments to do. We call on the state and federal government to better coordinate programs, policies, and funding, and provide more guidance and complicated disparate programs together into a coherent system. As we move forward, expectations should be proportional. You can't give a nurse a Band-Aid and expect them to fix a broken arm. The plan also includes a new tool we call the support card. That puts our technical assistance checklist into the hands of every stakeholder in the region who wants to help strengthen local planning and coordination efforts. The plan makes it clear that we need more resources to tackle an entrenched problem like homelessness. As you can see, and I mentioned it before, we estimate it will take $9.5 billion to reduce unsheltered homelessness by 75% in 5 years. This slide lays out just how much prevention, permanent housing, and interim housing that would cover. This amount of resources and housing would be a game changer for our communities, a major increase over what's currently available. Tomorrow, MTC will take a final vote to put a $20 billion regional affordable housing bond measure on the ballot in all 9 Bay Area counties. If voters approve this bond in November, it would be a huge down payment on the homelessness solutions our region needs. The bond could potentially pay all the construction costs for the new affordable housing and permanent supportive housing that our plan shows is needed across the Bay Area. If the bond is approved, local jurisdictions could acquire land for permanent housing and use a site for certain types of developed and improved. Some unhoused people, particularly those who have been homeless for some time, need additional services, and those services will require additional funding from other sources because state law prohibits the bond from being used for those purposes. Neither the state or the Bay Area has a reliable source of funding for the services that help people who've been chronically homeless stay healthy and housed long-term. That has to change, and we outline that need in the plan. Cities and counties across the Bay Area see the pressing need to prioritize building more homes that people with extremely low and very low incomes can afford, and the bond is going to provide billions of dollars to help them do just that. This sounds like a lot, and in some respect it is. Homelessness has been a challenge for our region for decades, but the Bay Area has this history of solving big problems and doing big things, leading the way for other parts of the country and the world. Our region showed the world how to respond to the HIV/AIDS epidemic. We have rebuilt our communities after devastating earthquakes and wildfires. We are actively restoring the San Francisco Bay itself, and we can rise to the challenge and do this too. And I will now pass the baton to my colleague, Adrian Gonzalez.
Good morning. My name is Adrian Gonzalez, Deputy Chief of Programs here at All Home. And this morning, I'll be walking us through All Home solutions modeling and our dashboard. To visualize what it will take to build an effective homelessness response system, the new WRAP Solutions dashboard estimates the 3 core solutions and additional funding needed to reduce unsheltered homelessness by 25, 50, and 75% on a path towards achieving functional zero in homelessness. With this tool, we now have goals and cost estimates for the entire region and for each county. This takes an ambitious plan and helps us bring it down to earth. We created the WRAP Solutions modeling to educate our government partners and the public on what it will actually take to make substantial reductions in homelessness and to show that these goals are within reach. The presentation of the dashboard helps us visualize how the investments into the 3 core solutions impact each other. At the top end, users have the ability to look at this analysis either through a regional lens across the Bay or to focus on a specific county. Next, users are able to change our assumptions around the end goal of reducing unsheltered homelessness either by 25%, 50%, or 75% on the way towards achieving functional zero. And lastly, users can change the rate at which we assume we can prevent new homelessness every year through the modeling, anywhere from 0 to 25%. I want to first draw your attention to the table in the top right-hand corner titled New Inventory Added and Total Costs. This table displays the total number of new units or interventions needed to reach the unsheltered reduction target and their associated costs. Users can choose to look at this data either through a 5 or 10-year lens. To demonstrate the importance of targeted homelessness prevention and how interconnected these solutions are, I'd like to walk us through how changing some of our assumptions in the model can impact the need and cost estimates. For example, if we choose our default ratio of preventing new homelessness by 15% up to 25%, we see substantial reductions in the need for new interim housing, as well as permanent housing solutions and their related costs. As a reminder, these are additional investments on top of what is currently being allocated in the region. Next, in the top left-hand corner, we have projected homelessness trends. This table focuses on demonstrating our projections around our estimates for the number of people who will be experiencing unsheltered homelessness relative to the number of people accessing shelter sites and exiting the system into permanent housing solutions by year based on the variables in the model. For additional context, we offer detail on interim housing needs. So again, we have broken out by year the number of units in interim housing we currently have within our system, and based on the assumptions you choose at the top, the number of projected additional units of interim housing that would be needed. And lastly, we have new annual costs by program, where you can look by intervention, the total costs either in aggregate or broken out by capital or operations and services by year based on the variables you change at the top. We will continue working with our government partners to uplift the importance of using data to inform budgeting, planning, and coordination, and hope that you use this dashboard as a tool for education, advocacy, and accountability. At this time, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Ashley Banta, who will speak about how the RAP helps us to build a system that aligns with the needs of people experiencing homelessness.
Good morning. Thank you, Adrian. My name is Ashley Banta, and I live and work in Vacaville, Solano County. I currently run Vacaville Solano Services Corporation, where I was also a resident of one of their shelters after my own experience of homelessness 5 years ago. I'm currently a member of All Homes Community Advisory Council and also served on the Regional Action Plan Update Advisory Committee, which helped to guide the development of this plan. This plan shows lessons learned from actually doing the work. It's client-focused and echoes what I've seen in our communities that work. Homes solve homelessness, and sometimes services are needed too. Meeting people where they are at, because each individual is so different, is what's important. This is a homelessness response system, and it should be treated like that, just similar to one of our emergency response systems or our healthcare system. We need systems to solve this problem because they're systematic issues, not personal issues. It's not a moral deficiency or a problem that charities can alone fix. This plan explains the structural nature of the problem, the lack of housing, and the structural racism that perpetuate homelessness. There are life circumstances of all individuals that can sometimes cause homelessness, but it's because of the high cost of housing and the lack of affordable homes. A lot of people are low income in the Bay Area because it's so expensive to live here. I currently make 6 figures and I have 4 children, and I'm considered low income. I have a Section 8 voucher. A lot of people are living on the edge more than I even am right now. Here's what I want people to know that live in the Bay Area to know about what it takes to solve homelessness. We need to customize solutions to each person who needs it. Treat people like humans and give them what they need. That's what an effective homelessness response system will do. There's not just one solution. We need multiple options so we can meet people's needs. Ultimately, more housing will enable us to truly address homelessness. And this plan that I'm proud of shows us how to get there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Ray Bramson, who will speak about how the plan equips local government and service providers with tools to improve planning and coordination. Ray.
Good morning, everyone. Ray Bramson, Regional Advisory Plan member and Chief Operating Officer at Destination Home. A Destination Home is a public-private partnership that exists to end and prevent homelessness in Santa Clara County. In this work, what we've seen in the Bay Area, one of the highest cost of living markets in the country, with rents sky high and wages not keeping up, is that one financial emergency, one missed paycheck means you're going to be out on the streets. That's why this plan's combined focus on prevention, permanent housing, and interim solutions is so critical. We need to get people off the streets as quickly as possible, but we also need to make sure that folks stay in their home and then stay permanently housed in the long term. What we've seen in Santa Clara County is that prevention is a critical intervention in this work. We've provided direct financial assistance to more than 25,000 households since 2017. And in that work, each household that we've provided help to stay housed for a long period of time. It's critical work and it's necessary for us to continue this going forward. And the type of transparency that is needed is exactly what this plan provides. The dashboard that Adrian went over earlier is critical for policymakers and for citizens to understand what we need to do to keep people off the streets. And when we get everyone together, a community as a whole working on each of these strategies, we know we can see a meaningful reduction. I like to say, and we like to say in general, that we don't have a solution problem. We have the data, we know what works. What we have is a scale problem. And we need to put more resources into these proven solutions if we really want to move the needle. And that's why, as you'll hear about more and more in the months to come, the regional housing bond is so critical. If we're not investing in the long-term solution to end homelessness and bringing these solutions to scale, we're never going to find that end that we need where every person in our community has a home. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ray. And now I'd like to introduce Assemblymember Buffy Wicks to share how we can scale the strategies outlined in the plan to meet the growing need. Assemblymember, please.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. I'm honored to be here and a big fan of All Home since its inception. I think you all know, and you know better than anyone else, we still have a lot of work to do. I'm excited about what All Home is doing, if only for continuously emphasizing that the homelessness crisis is solvable if we make the right choices. And, you know, I do think echoing one of my favorites, and I know one of your favorites, Tomika Moss, whenever I do a panel with her, she always emphasizes we have to believe that we can actually solve the problem. And starting with that belief, I think is critical. And I know that's something that you all embody in your work every day. But again, it's about making the right choices. It's about making the right investments. So I represent Berkeley. It's a city I've represented since I've been in the legislature. I live about a block and a half from Berkeley. I'm not lucky enough to be a resident of Berkeley, though I do love my Oakland, but it's a neighboring city. And you know, I've watched what Berkeley's done, and they have made a lot of those right choices, those right decisions. Following the RAP model, they saw a drop in their unsheltered homelessness by almost half in the last 2 years. So I just want to repeat that stat because I think, you know, you hear about homelessness in the Bay Area, homelessness in California. You don't hear this stat that often. Berkeley saw a drop in their unsheltered homelessness by almost half in the past 2 years. That is demonstrated success and demonstrated a change based on the model that you all are discussing here. But there's much more to do and more cities that need to use these proven methods. For starters, I'm thrilled that in this terrible budget environment, which I'm living day to day, every single day up here in Sacramento, we've still managed to fight for $2 billion state budget for homelessness and housing, in addition to the almost $7 billion in March's Prop 1 initiative. I will tell you that has not been an easy fight. It's been a difficult one, but one that I have been committed to. And you have a whole cadre of folks up here who are committed as well. Our Progressive Caucus prioritized money for housing. We have our moderate Democrats have been on the forefront of fighting for money for housing as well. So there's been some champions up here, but it has been a tough budget year, but we were able to secure some of those funds. I'm also thrilled that yesterday we passed ACA 10 out of the Assembly, thanks to our Majority Leader, Cecilia Aguiar-Curry. And for all of your work at All Home, for your dogged support on that effort. And that will essentially lower the voter threshold for housing and infrastructure bonds from 67% to 55%. So that we can, ensure that our local communities have the ability to be part of the solution when it comes to our homelessness crisis. ACA 10 will also make it possible for the Bay Area to pass our $20 billion housing bond, BAFA, as I'm sure you're all familiar. That's another critical piece of the equation here in the Bay Area, and those are resources we desperately need. And finally, and sort of less sexily, I appreciate the accountability measures that are in ACA 10 and BAFA and the state's new homelessness money. Voters have an expectation. They want an ROI on that investment, and they should get it. And we should be making sure that every dollar we spend goes towards solving the problem. And I know All Home has been on the case, continues to be on the case in that same spirit, with the updated the RAP with even more tools and best practices for local governments to use and for you all to keep us accountable. So I'm just thrilled to always be in partnership with you all to be working towards a common vision when we can end homelessness in California. Wild, crazy, ambitious ideas like that, which I do believe we can do because we have smart people, hardworking people, such as you all, working in coordination with federal, state, local leaders to solve this problem. So I stand ready to always be on your side, working side by side, shoulder to shoulder with you all as we solve this problem together. So thank you so much for having me and for all your good work.
Thank you, Assemblymember Wicks. Thank you for your leadership in Sacramento and for your leadership in pushing ACA 10 over the line yesterday. That is such a huge win for the state and for the Bay Area. Before we get into Q&A, I just wanted to underscore a couple of things, and this is something that Ray touched on a bit when you spoke, Ray, and that really is the importance of prevention in our work, ensuring, as a number of folks mentioned, we have nearly 1 million people out of 8 million people approximately in the Bay Area who are extremely low income. In such an expensive region, one life hiccup and a family can find itself unhoused. An individual can find themselves on the street, and so targeted prevention is super, super important to meet people when they face a crisis. In the tool that Adrian walked us through, he demonstrated how we can see what each county needs, what cities need, what the region as a whole needs to really bring down homelessness in the region. And one of the things that people can take a look at when they go to the dashboard is the impact of prevention. More prevention, not only is it very effective and really meets the needs of individuals and families, it's also very cost effective. For about $6,000 to $8,000 an episode, typically, helping someone stay in their home keeps their life in continuity. Whereas if someone becomes unhoused, a family becomes unhoused, it's much more challenging. It takes a lot more money and a lot more time. So we really want to emphasize the importance of prevention. I also want to really thank Ray and Ashley for their roles on the RAP Update Advisory Committee. They were part of that committee that really built this plan with us. We couldn't have done it without you all and your committee members on that committee. And so we thank you for your input and for being here today.